hello.
Imagine, in the small, isolated town of Blackwood, nestled deep within the shadowy embrace of an ancient forest, rumors whispered of a cursed video game that had a grip on its players like an icy hand from the grave. It was a game that, once played, lured its victims into a sinister and irreversible dance with darkness. The cursed video game, known simply as the Blackened Nexus, was said to be a long-forgotten relic of a bygone era. Some claimed it was the product of a reclusive and unhinged game developer, while others believed it to be the work of malevolent forces seeking to sow chaos and despair. The few who dared to speak of the game did so only in hushed tones, their eyes darting nervously from side to side as though afraid of being overheard by unseen ears. Stories of the Blackened Nexus circulated among the youth like a macabre bedtime tale, leaving parents and elders troubled by the growing fascination it held over their children. Tommy, a lanky and introverted teenager, had always been drawn to the mysterious and obscure. He was an avid gamer and found solace in the digital worlds that whisked him away from the dull realities of his life. His curiosity peaked when he heard whispers about the Blackened Nexus. As days turned into weeks, the tales of the cursed game gnawed at Tommy's mind like a persistent, haunting melody. Its dark allure was too potent to resist, and against his better judgment, he succumbed to the temptation of uncovering the forbidden secret that lay within the game. Through obscure online forums and anonymous messages, Tommy discovered a clandestine link to the Blackened Nexus. With trembling hands and a heart racing like a runaway train, he downloaded the ominous file onto his gaming console. The moment the game launched, the room seemed to grow colder, and an eerie silence blanketed the surroundings. The game's title screen depicted a gnarled, ancient tree surrounded by darkness, its roots seemingly reaching into the depths of the underworld. As Tommy hesitated on whether to proceed, a strange compulsion overtook him, as if an unseen force tugged at the strings of his soul, urging him to play. A sense of foreboding crept into his gut, but he could not turn away. Once the game began, Tommy found himself in a nightmarish landscape, a desolate realm that bore no resemblance to any game he had played before. The graphics were hauntingly realistic, and the atmosphere was suffocatingly dense with dread. The Blackened Nexus was no ordinary game. It was a gateway to something darker, something malevolent. In the inky blackness of the game world, Tommy felt a sinister presence lurking just beyond his vision. A chorus of unsettling whispers filled his ears, and he could almost make out words spoken in a language long forgotten by humanity. The game seemed to know him intimately, probing his fears and vulnerabilities, and it sought to exploit them mercilessly. As he progressed through the game, he encountered terrifying specters and nightmarish creatures, each designed to prey on his deepest fears. The lines between the game and reality blurred, and Tommy became unsure if he was still sitting in his dimly lit room or if he had been transported into the sinister world of the Blackened Nexus. But what Tommy didn't know was that playing the cursed video game would trigger a chain of events that would plunge Blackwood into darkness, unleashing a malevolent force that hungered for more than just virtual souls. And thus, the nightmare began, as the Blackened Nexus seeped its way into the real world, and the horrors that lay within its code spilled into the once peaceful town, forever altering the fate of those who dared to play its wicked game. As the days passed, the malevolent influence of the Blackened Nexus spread like a creeping plague through the town of Blackwood. Strange occurrences became commonplace, and the once tight-knit community now lived in a state of perpetual fear and suspicion. Unsettling shadows danced on the walls, and eerie whispers echoed through empty streets, chilling the bones of anyone who dared venture out after nightfall. Tommy, too, found himself trapped in the clutches of the cursed video game. Every night, he would reluctantly return to the game, drawn inexorably into its nightmarish world. Sleep became a distant memory as the boundary between reality and virtuality blurred into an indistinguishable haze. He could no longer discern what was real and what was a figment of the Blackened Nexus' insidious design. The people of Blackwood noticed the change in Tommy. His once bright eyes had grown dim, and a haunted expression now edged across his face. Concerned friends and family tried to intervene, but the game's sinister hold over him proved too strong to break. Rumors spread that the Blackened Nexus fed on the fear and despair of its players, growing stronger with each new victim it ensnared. Desperate to rid their town of this malevolence, the townsfolk sought help from various sources, but each attempt to destroy or even disconnect the game proved futile. It was as though the Blackened Nexus had become an entity of its own, an ancient and malefic being hungry for souls. As the weeks wore on, the town's once vibrant spirit withered, replaced by a pervasive sense of doom. The forest surrounding Blackwood seemed to grow darker, its branches contorted into grotesque shapes that resembled the nightmarish creatures from the cursed game. The forest had become a living manifestation of the game's malevolence, and it whispered dreadful secrets to those who dared to listen. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a blood-red hue across the town, a chilling wail erupted from the depths of the forest. The sound was unlike anything the townspeople had ever heard, a cacophony of torment and agony that froze them in their tracks. The sinister cry seemed to emanate from within the heart of the Blackened Nexus, a primal scream echoing through the digital and physical realms. In the days that followed, the town experienced an escalation of horrifying events. People reported seeing grotesque apparitions lurking in the shadows, and some claimed to have glimpsed their deepest fears come to life. The line between nightmares and reality blurred even further, and the townspeople found themselves trapped in an unending cycle of terror. Tommy, increasingly lost in the grip of the blackened nexus, felt an insidious transformation overtaking him. He could feel the darkness within him growing, intertwining with the cursed game's malevolence. It was as though his soul had become entangled with the vengeful spirits that resided within the cursed code. One fateful night, as a blood moon hung low in the sky, Tommy's house stood eerily still, bathed in an eerie glow. Inside, the walls seemed to pulsate with a malefic energy, and a haunting melody emanated from his gaming console. The song was mournful yet alluring, a siren's call that beckoned him deeper into the abyss. Unable to resist, Tommy sat before the screen, the faint glow illuminating his pallid face. The game's nightmarish world unfolded before him, but this time it was something different, something sinister lurking in the shadows, something that hungered for his very essence. As Tommy played, he felt a malevolent force seeping through the screen, intertwining with his very being. He became one with the blackened nexus, and his reality merged with the cursed game world. No longer a mere player, he was now an integral part of its dark tapestry. Outside Tommy's house, the forest of blackwood trembled, its gnarled trees twisting and contorting in unnatural ways. The forest itself seemed to be alive, pulsing with an ancient and malevolent power, fueled by the fear and despair of the townspeople. The cursed video game had unleashed an ancient evil that now sought to consume the entire town, and Tommy was at its center, vessel for darkness, unwittingly feeding the malevolence that threatened to swallow them all. And so, the once peaceful town of Blackwood had become a nightmarish realm, haunted by the curse of the blackened nexus. As the sinister forces continued to grow and spring, consuming everything in their path, the townspeople realized that their only hope for survival lay in confronting the malevolence head-on and unearthing the secrets that bound the cursed video game to their reality. But with each passing day, the veil between worlds grew thinner, and the malevolence of the blackened nexus seeped ever deeper into the souls of the town's inhabitants. The question remained, could they escape the clutches of this cursed game, or would they all succumb to the darkness that now loomed over Blackwood like a relentless, all-encompassing shadow? As the malevolence of the blackened nexus grew stronger, the town of Blackwood descended into a nightmarish abyss. The once serene streets were now infested with haunting apparitions, and the forest surrounding the town had become a living, breathing nightmare that thirsted for the souls of the living. Tommy, now a puppet of the cursed video game, had become a conduit for the ancient evil that had taken root in Blackwood. His humanity was all but lost, and he roamed the town as a ghastly figure, his eyes empty voids reflecting the darkness within. As the terror spread, the townspeople faced unimaginable horrors. Some vanished without a trace, while others were driven to madness, their minds broken by the malevolent forces at play. Fear and despair permeated the once close-knit community, leaving it fractured and on the brink of collapse. In a desperate attempt to break the curse, a group of brave survivors sought to confront the source of the malevolence, the cursed video game itself. Armed with determination and a fragile sliver of hope, they ventured into Tommy's desolate house, where the sinister glow of the gaming console cast eerie shadows on the walls. As they reached the room where the cursed video game awaited, a chill wind whipped through the house, extinguishing all but a single flickering candle. The glow of the gaming console intensified, revealing a nightmarish visage on the screen, a twisted reflection of the darkness that had consumed the town. With trembling hands, they attempted to dismantle the gaming console, hoping to sever the connection between the cursed game and their reality. But as they touched the machine, an unseen force surged through them, pulling them into the virtual abyss of the blackened nexus. One by one, the survivors vanished, absorbed into the cursed game world like a moth drawn to a consuming flame. The last remaining survivor, a young woman named Emily, watched in horror as her companions were swallowed by the darkness, but she refused to give in to despair. Gathering her strength, Emily faced the malevolent force that resided within the blackened nexus. She knew that she had to confront the source of this horror if there was any hope of saving her town and those she loved. As she entered the nightmarish game world, Emily found herself in a desolate realm of despair, surrounded by phantoms and twisted creatures. The blackened nexus towered before her, its gnarled branches reaching towards the heavens like demonic hands. With a trembling voice, she demanded answers from the malevolent force that dwelt within the cursed video game. A sinister laughter echoed through the void, and a haunting voice filled her mind, recounting tales of ancient rituals and forgotten gods hungry for souls. Emily realized that the blackened nexus had been a conduit for an ancient evil seeking to break free from its prison in the digital realm. Its power had grown exponentially, feeding on the fear and despair of its victims. But Emily also understood that she held the key to its defeat. Drawing on the strength of her resolve, Emily refused to succumb to the malevolence that surrounded her. With a final act of defiance, she reached deep into the code of the cursed video game and shattered the unholy connection that bound it to their reality. A blinding flash of light erupted from the gaming console, and Emily felt a surge of power flow through her. The ancient evil recoiled, its grip weakened, and the town of Blackwood began to slowly emerge from the nightmarish fog that had enshrouded it. As the malevolent forces retreated, the cursed video game disintegrated into digital fragments, its dark secrets scattered to the virtual winds. The forest surrounding Blackwood seemed to sigh in relief, its contorted trees returning to their natural state. But the horror had left its mark on the town and its people. Tommy, still lost in the grip of darkness, vanished into the night, his fate unknown. The survivors, though free from the cursed game's clutches, carried the scars of the ordeal forever etched into their souls. Blackwood would never be the same again, a scarred landscape haunted by the memory of the cursed video game and the ancient evil it had unleashed. And though the blackened nexus was defeated, the whispers of its malevolence lingered in the shadows, a chilling reminder that some horrors can never truly be erased. The tale of the blackened nexus would be told for generations, a cautionary fable of the dangers that lurk within the digital realm and the darkness that can consume even the bravest of hearts. And as the years passed, the town of Blackwood would forever bear the weight of its terrifying past, forever haunted by the cursed video game that had nearly swallowed them whole.